connected to your thyroid. What the hell? Whole food vitamin C has vitamin J in it, which is this other factor. So there's all these things in the whole food complex.
So on radiant vitamin C, that's good.
So you want a whole food. And then there's functional vitamin C. Acerola is too high in ascorbic acid. Royal Lee never used it in the standard process line. And I listened to him because he was the one testing this stuff on human beings, 1930s, 40s, and 50s. And he said spinach and acerola, worthless.
Because the oxalates too in the spinach.
Everything's bound up in them. So he said, I'll use camu, I'll use amla, I'll use these other rose hips, but I will not use acerola because it's too high in ascorbic acid and too weak in these other parts we need. So like our gut lining needs bioflavonoids to keep the junctions tight. So viruses need a weak fluid cell to get into. So if you're doing enough bioflavonoids, your cell membranes will tighten up and you won't have leaky gut, leaky brain, and leaky... They all go together. Leaky brain, leaky gut, leaky cells. They all go together. So protein and bioflavonoids, I mean, you guys, there's a physician that wrote a book about colitis in 1935. And guess what he said? You need bioflavonoids and protein to heal colitis. And you need a raw food diet, not that cooked food bullshit, peanut butter, bananas, white bread. That is just horse doo-doo. So no one paid attention to the physician, of course, because there's no money to be made in natural foods at the time, right? And then it's also a 3 to 5 year process with colitis. One example, I have a client came in last year with colitis. And so the colon is where we take in and let go. It's paired with the lung in Chinese medicine. So what do the lung and the colon share? They take in and let go. I'm getting to the magnesium. And so we get broken and we don't let go enough or we don't take in enough, right? And that's a colitis case. That's why the physician said you need to work with the emotional part of colitis. So this woman came in last year, was completely unaware of her self-sabotage. And here's the quote. You just can't make this shit up. She's like, I'm being date raped by a man telling myself not to disappoint him. I cried right in front of her. I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine. She had a history of that. Just going out, you kind of feel obligated. You bought me dinner, whatever. So many women tell me, I felt obligated, so I let him, have sex with me. And meanwhile, I didn't really want to, but I don't want to disappoint him. And I'm like, that's messed up. That's messed up. So she went single, dropped all the men for a good 6-7 months. I was so happy for her. Got control of her own power. And then there's this guy, a friend of hers, she's known for 3 to 5 years. She started dating him because there's trust. And so she's a year in now. We had our year appointment a couple days ago. And I said, so what have you learned this year? And she goes, we just went through colon season, which is the fall. And everything flared up. And she went back on coffee. And I go, if you got colitis, you got no place for coffee in your diet. Because it's solvent. It dissolves your gut lining. It messes with your flora. There are some of us can get away with it, but I don't think getting away with it's close to thriving. That's why I do. I've done 10,000 coffee enemas. It's great up the rear end. I wish I had taste buds down there, So this woman is now very aware of the emotional. She's a year in now. So now next year, I told her, I go, now I'm 30 years into watching every year. Every season I've been watching myself, or after 5.
I just want to say 5 is like it's the official end, but Cindy didn't get asked more questions.
Okay, I'm going to finish this up. Let me just finish that.
Yeah.
So, just to finish the magnesium, that's right. So the Gershon diet was getting amazing results with cancer back in the day with raw liver, wheatgrass juice, and coffee enemas, and a lot of other things. But you see the connection there? The raw wheatgrass is giving you the magnesium to control the oxidative metabolism. So green juices have a huge place, and that's why I have a garden full of greens. I can go out and put them in the blender, blend them up, strain it out, and I got fresh green juice. That's literally sunlight in a bottle. Or you got that too. So there were ways around this sunlight thing, and the final thing that I didn't talk about. So magnesium is a huge component, magnesium and copper. And so if you do green juices and liver or shellfish, you got a lot of that covered. And then finally, the main sunlight herb is St. John's wort. The flowers are yellow like the sun. The tincture is red like your blood. I've made a St. John's wort tincture every year for 20 years, and it's always astounding to watch the yellow flowers go into the vodka, and then an hour later it's bright red. That's alchemy. A yellow flower turns red in the solvent. So St. John's wort has blood purifying properties, pain relieving properties, antidepressant, but the action of St. John's wort, if you want to, this guy wrote the Book of Herbal Wisdom, Matthew Wood, great book. He has like a 5-6 page chapter on St. John's wort. I've got a piece on my website that you guys can, I'm going to send a link to Shelley and Alyssa. So if you have more questions, I think you do. I do a community dinner talk every Friday, and I have a clinical nutrition group that meets every Wednesday morning. I have a group starting in January called Natural Law, and that's going to be a Tuesday evening group, and there's health as part of it, the USA bullshit game is part of it, and interpersonal psychology is part of it. And that's a good off-the-street kind of group, and I'll be meeting on Tuesday nights. So I'm available